Hi everybody, it's Rob back again with another Stories Behind the Songs. And this is what I'd categorize as a song we need to hear. I was at a industry event called Music North, I think it was, or Folk North in Toronto maybe a decade ago. And I met a guy from a record label in the States, and he was talking about we were watching an act together, and he was talking about what they were playing, and he was relating a story about Colin Hay, who's the lead singer, songwriter for Men at Work, the Australian band that hit it big with Who Can It Be Now, and Down Under, and the album Cargo from the 1980s. And he said that he'd seen him recently and signed him to the label, and that, Colin plays songs we need to hear. And so it really struck me and stayed with me. Your audience, your listeners are looking for something in music, and when they find it, that's the songs that they connect to, and sometimes that's about emotions that we're dealing with, etc. And so I would categorize this song as a song we need to hear. This is a song written by Lee Hayes and Pete Seeger of the Weavers, written in 1949, basically supporting the progressive movement, which was very prominent back then. In fact, was just about to run into major issues with the McCarthy era and the sort of anti-communist movement in the States. And in fact, Lee Hayes and Pete Seeger were both blacklisted during that period. And the Weavers basically disbanded in the 50s. But they had major hits. They had a Billboard #1 with Goodnight, Irene, which was a Leadbelly song, and Leadbelly was kind of their hero. In that earlier iteration of the folk revival. Leadbelly, Huddie Ledbetter died in 1949, but him and people like Woody Guthrie and other early folks like Paul Robeson, other left-leaning progressive folk singers were kind of the heroes of the Weavers. Now, they got less political a little bit because they saw the writing on the wall, but in the end, like I said, Lee Hayes and Pete Seeger were blacklisted, so the band disbanded. So they were part of that early folk revival, late 40s, early 50s, and then leading to the big folk revival, Kingston Trio, the Highwaymen, the Limelighters, Peter, Paul, and Mary, etc., in the late 50s and 60s. But that folk revival actually was a little bit founded in the communist progressive movement. And that was because, following the crash of 1929, October 29, the stock market crash, which basically, sent so many Americans into poverty, and people lost fortunes, and there was huge unemployment and struggles. The belief was that, by Aaron Copland and other thought leaders, Upton Sinclair, etc., was that corporate greed had kind of led America to this, and that in order to rebuild, we need to go back to the roots. And for them, the roots was the working class. So this is sort of all fits within that progressive belief system. And so that was, John and Alan Lomax going out collecting music on the frontiers, in the rural communities, Charles Seeger, other people doing that same kind of work. So all that to say, this song was a progressive song. It's called If I Had a Hammer. It wasn't a huge hit for the Weavers, although they did perform it and record it. Originally it was called the Hammer Song. They released it on a 78, what we now call a 78, back then would have actually been called a 78 because the 33 and the 45 had come out in 1948-49, so it was called a 78 on Hootenanny Records. But its big sort of, wide public appeal would come with the recording by Peter, Paul, and Mary in 1962, July 62, and then also that year by Trini Lopez, Trinidad Lopez, who was American-born from Dallas, Texas. I think his father was from Mexico. He also recorded it and took it to #3. So the song really caught on much later and was a big part of the sort of a youth anthem through that folk revival. I think it's a really important song because it's empowering. It's a call to action, like a lot of folk music is. So you have the first 3 verses, very simple progression, but like a lot of Pete Seeger songs, it has a little, rhythmically a little tricky. You got to keep your eye on the ball when you're playing it. But it's a call to action. There's, the 3 things. If I had a hammer, a bell, a song, and then in the end, I've got these things. Now, what am I going to do? Over the years, been recorded by many other people, including Ross McManus. I like that one particularly. That's Elvis Costello's father. He sang it with the Joe Loss Orchestra in 1963. The Limelighters did it. Martha and the Vandellas did it on their album Heatwave. Leonard Nimoy did it on his, ill-fated recording, 1968, I think, crazy album that he recorded. Johnny Cash. And then Bruce Springsteen in 2004 brought it back for the album Songs of Seeger. So here it is. If you know it, you can sing along. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. And have a great, happy New Year. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out justice, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out a warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Now I got a hammer and I got a bell, and I got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land, all over this land, all over this land. And there's my dog moving on cue at the end of the song. I think that's her way of applauding. If you enjoyed this, please hit like and subscribe. And that's a song that I think we need to hear today. Take care.